So this is the self-development with tactics book. So, hello and welcome back to today's episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast or video or wherever you are, but I think this time it will be something different. This time I think the actual podcast episode will be something different than the actual YouTube video, because I kind of felt like, okay, you know what, the YouTube video kind of only consists of me sitting there just watching on screen, somebody just kind of watching me watching on a screen, talking about something or reading through some things that they actually could go through as well on their own. So I quite feel like, for the podcast, it is definitely something that is quite working, but for the YouTube video, it is not quite, because I just feel like, I just want to try it out how this is going when I do actually cut the videos and kind of make them more fun also through an intro, maybe through an outro, maybe through actually kind of implementing some music and kind of making it somehow more interesting through just, all these senses we human beings have. I do not know how this is then working for just, the book summaries I'm always going through, because I think that these are very contributing people's lives on the podcast. I don't know how this is going with, the YouTube videos and whatsoever. But yeah, so therefore I just quite thought I will go through some Quora questions. So you might know that I'm on Quora. This is actually a pretty great platform at my point of view, because you can actually answer and question or ask questions, and this is a pretty great way to just contribute people's lives, just to help them and give them some of your advice. How this is good then for the YouTube video. In terms of cutting, I will actually cut everything out that I'm typing, because this is quite most of the time, the longest time periods where there is just silent and whatsoever. And maybe I will just pick out some ways that might be pretty interesting for people, and just make the video a little interesting. For the podcast, it will kind of, I think, be just the pure version of it. So therefore, what people like the most or whatsoever. I think in terms of the podcast, it's not that important that everything is cut out, everything is quite, that needed and, whatsoever. So, I think we're going ahead. You can totally see that we are in, or you actually can't see because you're on the podcast. We are actually on the self-improvement section. There are actually 2.1 million people following this section, which is, totally amazing, maybe even in a negative way, but because you can just see that people need it, we will go through these questions. I hope I can make the episode in terms of YouTube actually a little bit more interesting through just, doing things, I think. I don't know. But so the first question is, what are some proven ways to make a new habit stick? This is actually quite a hard question, and I quite feel like, okay, can I answer this? I hope so. So, what are some proven ways to make a new habit stick? I think if this is a habit that is actually kind of worth quite, letting it stick to you, or quite worth doing it, it will totally stick, automatically. This is just something that that's quite, or I could actually, the thing is, I could go through this question not answering them. This was actually the thing that I was just thinking about, but, this would just doesn't make any sense, because I just, yes, would contribute you, but, I wouldn't contribute the people who are actually asking the question, maybe who are just needing my advice or just, some words, because often you can totally see, this question only has 4 answers, and having more answers at my point of view is definitely kind of great than having less answers. But so I would first of all say, okay, if this is something that's, very, very important to you, then it's totally sticking to you, because it's some kind of connected to your feelings, to your lifestyle and whatsoever. So that is actually quite important to you. On the other hand, you can totally make it like, okay, you just put yourself in a framework that just lets you. So there is no other way around than letting it stick to you or doing it every single day. and or, also what helped me always just letting them stick to what I'm doing is just doing them right ahead. So this is really something that I quite think is important to me, or was important for me, and just really created for me the just chance, or for me just the quite possibility that I am the person that I am right now. Because everything that I've just started, like, the video that I'm doing, or the podcast that I'm doing right now, or just me quite working out, me quite reading books, like this one, actually quite a great book, I think. So it was, and This is Marketing. I hope you could actually have seen this. No, you couldn't actually. So This is Marketing by Seth Godin. Actually quite a great book. A little short, I would say, even. I don't know how you think about these things, but I think it's fairly short. Let me see, actually. Yeah, some kind of 250 pages is definitely, and quite a big font, or quite big type, but it's quite a good one, I think. But yeah. So proven ways, first of all, or should I do it like, okay, I won't answer them first, and then, no, I won't. This doesn't make any sense. But yeah, then this would be then the part that I will cut out, because I'm only typing. But maybe I'm even saving something that's quite important. So first of all, So I have a few tips for you that pretty much helped me becoming the person I am right now. Becoming the person that I am right now. Something that always worked for me was quite doing what what I wanted right ahead. So nothing like, so people always like to quite like to do it some kind of gradually, like just saying, okay, I will be like not eating chocolate to in the next week, so I will just do it gradually, so that I actually just eat one piece today and tomorrow one piece, and then just some days later I will just only eat half of a piece, and then a quarter of a piece, and some shit like this. And this is actually some things that didn't work for me. Actually, these are actually things that didn't work for me. I just do it or I not do it. I just really do it in this certain second and the amount I just want it to be. That's it. That's quite it. So nothing like gradually exposing me to the change, but really doing it right now. Then, if it is really something important to you, then at my point of view, it will totally stick, because yeah, it is important. Then what did I say? Just in a really I don't know, fuck it. Fuck. Yeah, fuck it. Important. I do hope that the podcast episode therefore doesn't get some kind of not that interesting, or just very, very boring. So I quite think like, okay, I might be, I think I might be actually making the podcast episode also. I will also cut it, because I think this is just something that's quite maybe it's worth just hearing me type and listening to me type, but I don't know. It is somehow very, very complicated for me, because it's something, first of all, it just takes a lot of time for me actually to edit these videos, export them, and therefore if I export them in the exact same scale that I always did, like 30-minute episodes or 40-minute episodes or whatsoever, then it will totally take a lot of time that I just would have used for actually creating the posts, and especially during the week this could get a problem. So therefore I might actually only be doing something like not that long episodes. I don't know, it's complicated. I will try it out. It is always important to really try out the things. What are some proven ways to make new habits stick? And last, but putting yourself into the position or framework where you can't do anything else but this certain thing. I don't know if this is the best advice. I think this is one of the best advice that I could just give for this certain question. To be honest, I'm submit. So this was the first question, actually, the first one. Maybe I will edit it somehow. I don't know how I just do it, that I just make it a little bit, kind of more worth watching it on YouTube, especially. Because the podcast itself, in terms of actual summaries, it's totally great at my point of view. It's totally fine that you have this kind of way that I actually do the videos or do the podcast, because you can get such a lot out of it. I do not know myself quite a lot of things. This is the fact. I have nothing experience. I just have no experience, and this was also one of the reasons why I actually decided that I will just make podcasts, or just podcasts and or videos based on books or book summaries. It is just something that pretty much helped me to do. How long am I in actually? It's 12 minutes. So I actually thought about actually going to a book summary right now, because I kind of feel like, no, this is not working. Yeah, I will. This is the decision that I just made. I will. Because often it's also some quite the thing is, the problem that I'm having right now, it is between, helping the people that are actually asking this question is something that I quite looking forward to. I think this is something important. This is something that I actually would want to do. Even I could actually do it just, when I'm in the train or something, but it's actually taking up my internet and so on, or my data, which is, it is complicated. It's fucking complicated. And on the other side is totally you, because I just don't want you to be kind of be forced that you actually just have to listen to some stupid shit, because I want to serve as many people as possible. I do not know, it's complicated, but I think I will go through a book. The last day I actually did Notes from a Friend by Tony Robbins. Actually also a great book. Maybe there is something that The Daily Stoic. Maybe this is even a great book. So I don't know. The thing is, for the podcast episodes, it's definitely great. I would definitely suggest a lot of people to go through my podcast, because I'm just relying on... No, I do not want to read this one. So the E-Myth revisited and why most small businesses don't work and what to do about it. I actually hope, that's worth it. 15 minutes actually to go, and I quite feel more comfortable going through these ones and going through these books, because I actually think like, I can give people something. I can give them some information. I can give them something. The only thing is that I just have to make it a little bit physically or kind of aesthetically more appealing to people in terms of the video. I'm only talking about the video because the actual podcast itself is fairly great, I think. On the other hand, having conversations with other people would also be a thing that I'm quite striving for, and would also be a thing that might be good for my podcast and for the people who are listening, because always just hearing my voice and just hearing what I have to say might not be as good as having more perspective and more people who are actually just contributing what I'm telling you. So yeah, I will go this way. I just hope, making the videos a little bit more interesting, not like always me sitting there and just watching me or whatsoever, might be even the way to go. So the book in 3 sentences. The first one is, most small business owners work in their business rather than on their business. I quite feel like, yeah, I've gone through this. Fuck. Yeah, I've gone through this. Maybe this one? Have I gone through this one? I'm fucked here. Actually, also one that I've gone through already. I just wanted to go through the Daily Stoic, but it is from Ryan Holiday, and I just, went through one of his books that really just made me feel like, I don't want to do this, because I don't know. Maybe we'll go through it. Anyways. Or will I? No, I won't. Making fast decisions is actually one of the things that I had to work on and that I'm still having to work on, because I think this is something important. This is something that you should be able to, especially in a leading position as someone who has his or her own just thing. If it's a podcast, if it's, your business, I, rather speak about businesses. Actually going through biographies. I think biographies are actually very interesting, but they aren't too much. This is the problem about it. Philosophy, psychology, self-help, philosophy. Yeah, philosophy is actually also one of the categories I just want to go through as well. I think this is something that I could actually kind of get something out of it, to be honest. Something that might actually be working for me. I don't know. I just feel like it. But let's go to the self-help section. And I'm pretty sorry if this episode isn't that good for you as as it could be maybe. I don't know. It's always in terms of, what you're what you're just comparing it to. It's definitely better than one of the first episodes from a new thing that I did. Just it's definitely better as, one of them. Definitely. The first views were quite really shitty, to be honest. There was nothing on the screen. You couldn't see anything. You couldn't even see me talking, which is also quite very boring at my point of view, because you're just only seeing me, and therefore this is also just one of the reasons why I quite understand why people don't watch my shit. I'm just only sitting here and just talking into a fucking non-existing microphone. It's rather a smartphone, and I just understand people why they wouldn't watch this. It's just making sense for me. But so therefore just making it a little bit different might be even just the way to go for me to to actually make more people just going through it, watching it. And this is the thing, it is not particularly about me having more clicks, having more subscribers, having more anything. It's not about me, to be honest. It's about people. I know that people won't watch this. I know that even people won't watch a 30-minute episode of me talking. This is the thing. If it's a 30-minute episode of me actually talking something that's, I'm not saying that I'm talking shit all the time, but if it's also appealing in an aesthetic way, in a just visual way, this is also something that's important, because I actually skipped entire videos, because there was only one guy sitting there just talking to me, which was something that I found like I don't want this. This is something that I don't care about. This is something I quite feel like, okay, I would rather watch some other videos where I can just see something in the background and people are just talking over it than just seeing someone sitting there and talking all the time. And still, this is the point, I'm just doing the same shit. The thing is, I could be like, okay, the last 100 episodes that I did were actually quite the same. And I could be like, okay, I just totally wasted my time. I totally wasted your time. But still, yeah, there's a lot of information there. So still a lot of people would have, gotten a little bit smart off that, I think and I hope. So yeah. This sounds good. The practicing mind. Yeah, didn't read this. Yeah, I will read this. So the practicing mind, developing focus and discipline in your life. Why? Because I think, first of all, focus and discipline are one of the fucking keys, at my point of view, if you're actually having a great life and getting further in life and, developing in your life and so on and so on and so on. So the book in 3 sentences. Real peace and contentment, it's definitely not pronounced like this, in our lives come from realizing that life is a process to engage in, a journey down a path that we can choose to experience as magical. When we subtly shift toward both focusing on and finding joy in the process of achieving instead of having the goal, we have gained a new skill. And this is actually the truth. Rather focusing on the real process and just seeing the process as the goal rather than the goal itself is actually key. Because if you actually don't like what you're doing the whole day long or the whole way long to your goal, actually, you're totally fucked. What would you do? Just something else, might not be working that well. But it's just the thing. Just seeing the process as the goal itself is pretty much key, at my point of view at least. So, and once mastered, it is a magical and incredibly empowering skill. Third one is, with deliberate and repeated effort, progress is inevitable. Yeah, totally. If you just do the same shit you're not good at right now, maybe, and you just want to kind of have the skill, if you do it and do it and do it and do it, you eventually get better. This is just fact. It just makes sense. If you're talented at this certain thing or not, you will get better. It's the same thing with me actually doing the videos. They, got better in terms of me actually speaking better English, speaking more fluent English, speaking in a way that's not boring, but rather just, enjoying that, what I'm just talking about and so ever, or whatsoever. This is just a fucking word that I just use all the fucking time. And swearing is also important. No joking. So the 5 big ideas. Real peace and contentment in our lives come from realizing that life is a process to engage in, a journey down a path that we can choose to experience as a magical. When we subtly shift towards both focusing on and finding joy in the process of achieving instead of having the goal, we have gained a new skill. And once mastered, it is a magical and incredible empowering. If you are not in control of your thoughts, then you are not in control of yourself. Something that I think is kind of true. It might be a little oversaturated, a little bit overdone, because, just saying, okay, this is that, and, whatsoever, might be a little bit too much at my point of view. A paradox of life. The problem with patience and discipline is that developing each of them requires both of them. So the problem with patience and discipline is that developing each of them requires both of them. This makes sense. Just by being disciplined, you sometimes have to be patient as well. But the other way around as well. So to be patient, you need to just have the discipline of being patient. Makes sense. So we inertiously think that there is a magical point that we will reach and then we will be happy. Yeah, this is, actually something that a lot of people think, I think, and also in terms of having your goal of being rich or some shit like this. And at the end, they're like, I'm not that happy and I don't know why and, whatsoever. But, it makes sense for me that, if you're just doing shit all day long, just, to get to a goal, and this goal at the end isn't that nice, it makes sense because you didn't enjoy just the real process, and then you're at your goal, and then what? And this is also the problem that I'm having. I'm just working for a goal. I'm working to having some kind of an audience and whatsoever. And when I'm at my goal, when I just have this goal in my hands, looking at it, what will be the next thing? This is something that I ask myself. What will be the fucking next thing? What will I do then? This is just it. What will I do then? This is actually something that I think like, okay, now what is the next step to do? And this is then my problem, because if I, didn't enjoy the process so much, then I would just be like, okay, I would just do something. But because I am in this process, I just like my process that I'm having right now. This is something that's, part of my everyday life. I'm just doing it, all day long. Quite sitting here, not all day long, but, there's a certain point in the day where I just, sit there, do this episode and do the post and whatsoever, and just put it out. And therefore, this is just, for me, something that's part of my life. And then when I just reach my goal, what's next? Just to make it a little bit shorter. So the practicing, is it actually practicing or practicing? I think practicing, like according to the actual pronouncing letters. Do you know them? They look quite funny, but they're actually somehow helpful, I think. Not all the time, but most of the time they are. Real peace and contentment in our lives come from realizing that life is a process to engage in, a journey down a path that we can choose to experience as magical. Actually, one thing that we have read now 3 times. When we learn to focus on and embrace the process of experiencing life, whether we are working toward a personal aspiration or working through a difficult time, we begin to free ourselves from the stress and anxiety that are born out of our attachment to our goals, our sense that I can't feel happiness until I reach my goal. So this goal always takes the form of some place we have not yet reached. Something we don't yet have, but will at some point, and then we believe it will. What the fuck? Something we don't have yet, but will at some point, and then we believe all will be right in our life. And this is actually kind of the wrong thing about goals. This is not kind of truth. Yeah, it might be some kind of the truth, but after the goal, after you've achieved the goal, is actually just before achieving the next goal, at my point of view at least. So when we subtly shift towards both focusing on and finding joy in the process of achieving instead of having the goal, we have gained a new skill, and once mastered, it is a magical and incredibly empowering one. However, the practicing mind is quiet. It lives in the present, has laser-like pinpoint focus and accuracy. It obeys our precise directions, and all our energy moves through it. Because of this, we are calm and completely free of anxiety. We are where we should be at the moment, doing what we should be doing, and completely aware of what we are experiencing. There is no wasted motion physically or mentally. If you're not in control of your thoughts, then you're not in control of yourself. A paradox of life, actually something that I've read already, like these two, actually both. We have a very unhealthy habit of making the product, our intended result, the goal instead of the process of reaching that goal. So we have a very unhealthy habit of making the product, our intended result, the goal instead of the process of reaching that goal. Totally true, quite, the exact same thing that I was just kind of being philosophical about right before, just, seeing the process as, the goal itself rather than the goal. So we, also something that I read, the word practice implies the presence of awareness and will. The word learning does not. When we practice something, we are involved in the deliberate repetition of a process with the intention of reaching a specific goal. I didn't understand any fucking shit what he just told me, or she actually. So when we practice something, we are involved in a deliberate repetition of a process with the intention of reaching a specific goal. Yeah. Yeah. So when you focus on the process, the desired product takes care of itself with fluid ease. When you focus on the product, you immediately begin to fight yourself and experience boredom, restlessness, frustration, and impatience with the process. When you focus your mind on the present moment, on the process of what you're doing right now, you're always where you want to be and where you should be. Yeah, totally. Because just always focusing on, the past especially the past is something that you should never do. Because the past is the past. What you did yesterday just has nothing to do with what you're doing today. Maybe some sort of, if you fucked yesterday, you might be fucked today as well. But no, let this kind of thing out of the frame. But actually being like, okay, because I didn't something do in the past means that I will never do it in the present or in the future as well. That's complete bullshit. Completely. It doesn't make any sense. And your past doesn't even determine your future as well. It is your present what it does. The fact is that maybe your past did some kind of determine your present, and therefore your present, because it just changed up through your past, is determining your future as well. And this is then the problem. If you don't do anything, you can just do something in the present so that you kind of just fuck the thoughts of the past, and therefore you will be just fine in the future. In order to focus on the present, we must give up, at least temporarily, our attachment to our desired goal. Yeah, I don't know. The thing about thinking in terms of the future, I think is actually a good one, because you're thinking long term, and long term is something that is, in my point of view at least, important. So I don't know about this one. When you shift your goal from the product you're trying to achieve to the process of achieving it, a wonderful phenomenon occurs. Pressure drops away. So when you shift your goal from the product you're trying to achieve to the process of achieving it, this is the exact same thing that he always says. We waste so much of our energy by not being aware of how we are directing it. Totally. This is the thing. Often you kind of just, sit there watching a few seasons or even a few episodes of a season, and you kind of already feel like, okay, you just wasted a lot of time, you wasted a lot of energy and a lot of lifespan actually. Instead, you could have done something that's, might be even more important for you after all. So yeah, why don't you just, instead of watching my video, do your own shit? Please. Remember, judgment redirects and wastes our energy. Totally. Judgment is something that's completely shit. Why would you judge yourself, first of all, and other as well? This doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Yeah, I understand some people are doing something you're not doing, but it doesn't mean that you should just, judge them and, talk about them even behind their back and whatsoever. They are who they are, and they do the shit, whatever they want to do, because they are them. And you're not them, and, you might be even just really happy that you are not them, but they are them, you are you, just focus on your shit and don't even just judge yourself as well, because why would you? You just do certain things, you might fuck up a lot of certain things, and you just do some shit as well, but that's okay. You learn from doing these things, and this is important, at my point of view. But just don't be, because I just see rude, not even rude, but some kind of a rude, don't even be rude to yourself. Just, accept yourself, don't judge yourself, try to evolve, and just, pretty much work on yourself is also important at my point of view, but do not fucking judge yourself. This is something that's, unnecessary quite. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful day. I see you the next time, and just, take a look at your legacy and you giving back to other people, because these two things are important. So do you want to be remembered as someone who is just really fucking nice to be around with, or some very fucking asshole? You have the choice. And with that being said, I hope you have a fucking wonderful day. And yeah, I wish you the best self-health, success, happiness. Happiness is important. Wealth as well, and your success. And I'll see you the next time.